Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, honorable members. Can we all be seated so that we can start with our meeting? Good morning once again. Let me take this opportunity on behalf of the Portfolio Committee for Defense and Military Veterans to welcome all of you, including members of the Portfolio Committee for Public Works and Infrastructure. Take this opportunity also to welcome all the members, including members of the executive, represented by Deputy Minister Mukungo and Deputy Minister Zigalala. Take this opportunity to welcome our Chief of Logistics, Admiral Mkonto, General Kekana, and the entire team from the Department of Defense. Also take the opportunity to welcome the DG of Public Works and the team from Public Works of senior management team, our support staff, our parliamentary liaison officers, including our secretariat. You are all welcome. This meeting, just as a background in my opening, is to inform members that this meeting was called by the Portfolio Committee for Defense to engage the Portfolio Committee for Public Works on the facilities of of defense, which are under Public Works as the landlord. That we engaged because there is a new development which is happening. There are parts of our military bases which are encroached through land grabbing, and as the defense, we are not the landlord. We can't even bring a case against such encroachment and land grabbing, and the processes sometimes takes very long to engage Public Works and get the case followed. We have a situation that most of our military bases have surpassed over 100 years since they were started during the Union of South Africa in 1910. And most of them are now over 100 years old, dilapidated, and they need refurbishment. But the process sometimes takes too long. One of the biggest concerns we have as the defense was that some of our military bases houses the ammunition depots, which has explosive, artillery equipments, prime mission equipments, and as there are land grabs and people residing next to our military bases, it becomes very difficult to always consult Public Works to say there's a land grab, and Public Works takes 6 months to respond, and by that time it responds, the Extension of Security Tenure Act applies, where once people have stayed for over 48 hours, to relocate them, you must give them alternative land, and it becomes very difficult. So we thought from our side, before even to avert a disaster. Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Visvan Reddy. I'm in the Public Works Portfolio Committee. I think it would be appropriate if we could just have an introduction of people that are here, because it's the first time we've got a joint sitting and we're not sure who's who here. So can we start perhaps with the introduction so we'll know who's here? Thank you.
All right. Honorable Niels.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm not against the introduction, but I think perhaps we should start by adopting the agenda. And then you can make the opening remarks as you've done, and we can have apologies and we can introduce ourselves. But I think it's important, let us, for starters, adopt the agenda. Thank you.
Yeah, let me, yeah, your points are noted. They are fair and correct. But let me go back to conclude what I was saying so that we can go and deal with the business of the day as requested. We will deal with the introductions, it's correct. We will deal with the adoption of the agenda, it's correct. I think we must do that. I just wanted to take the meeting through a background before we get to know each other so that we know the reasons why we are here. And I think it's fair on matters which were raised by members that we introduce ourselves and we adopt the agenda. So that is basically one of the reasons why we are here today, to find each other, common ground and common purpose in terms of how do we deal with these facilities. Because some of our munition depots, like in Valmansdal, we do have underground military equipments, prime mission equipments which are there, which if we allow somebody from Public Works, a service provider, to go and repair some of our prime military equipment, that service provider is not vetted, gets access to some of the most sophisticated ammunition and artillery equipments of the country. We don't know where he accounts, we don't know where that information will end up, and it creates a security threat. So we wanted a win-win situation for both Public Works and the Department of Defense so that we understand each other, and that's why we are here today. I'll then go back to the request that was made by members that we move for the adoption of the agenda. Before us, the agenda has the following items. The second one will be apologies, briefing by DPWI on the SANDF building maintenance projects, briefing by SANDF on the devolution of building maintenance to the Department of Defense, consideration of the meeting 18 July and change of the agenda, consideration of minutes and closure. That is the agenda before us. Honorable Neos.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move for adoption of the agenda with one addition, but that we should deal with at the end of the meeting, I suppose either before or just immediately after the consideration of minutes. I need to bring to the attention of the committee, but that's not for purposes of the Department of Public Works, that we are faced with a serious crisis with regards to the Presidential Task Team on military veterans. And a hearing that took place yesterday in the Northwest Province, which is leading to a crisis amongst military veterans that were subjected to the most awful treatment by the chairperson of that committee, General Mshwale. Now, this is a crisis. I've received several phone calls from those military veterans who were subjected to the treatment that they received from the chair. They are literally, not even figuratively, Chair, up in arms. They are very angry. We are faced with a serious crisis. This was a crisis long in the making. We all know that this problem was festering, and I want to put it on the agenda so that we as a committee can take a decision how we will deal with this matter in due course. But as I say, that is a matter specifically for the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans, and therefore I suggest that it be placed at the end of the agenda because Department of Public Works is not required for that part. Otherwise, I move for adoption of the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Just as the part of the way forward, I think we will allow Public Works to sit with us until we finish the items related to this meeting and release Public Works. Items like the one you are raising, we'll deal with them in committee as the
Thank you,
portfolio committee on our own. Yeah, so that we release public works out of the problems of the National Defence Force. Honorable Zikalala.
Thank you. Greetings to you and the members. May I ask whether we are permitted to eat? I see members eating. I don't want to.
Well, for purpose of service delivery, we need a nutritious body and a mind. So we'll allow you. At least today there are no cameras, unless I'm told otherwise. So the agenda is adopted. We'll then move to the introductions as requested by Honorable Reddy. With me on the high table, we've got the content advice of the portfolio committee, Dr. Willem van Rensberg. We also have Nandipa Makawani. She's our secretary of the portfolio committee. We can then, Honorable Diale, start with you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings, Honorable Chair. Greetings to honorable members, deputy ministers for the two departments, the officials and the two departments. My name is Betty Diale. I'm a member of the Committee on Defence as an alternate.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and greetings to the various members of the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans, and also Portfolio Committee for the Department of Public Works. My name is Carl Niehaus, and I represent the Economic Freedom Fighters on the Portfolio Committee for Defence and Military Veterans. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, everybody present. My name is Chris Harting, member of the committee.
Sanibonani. Igama lami ngumali yakhe wakashelembe okuleli committee le defense yeah. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, two DMs, honorable members from Defence and Public Works, Nduleke Dlelanga from Public Works, Portfolio Committee.
Chair, morning, honourable members from both committees, the deputy ministers, and all people in the committee today. Cebe khulu lo khuluma yabo. Wase committee la defense too and military veterans.
It's a very good morning, Chair Mike Kala, committee member, defense.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tandi Nontenja, the member of the committee.
Morning, everyone. Gamaram Yungusipho Ngwagamahlangu, a member of the Portfolio Committee, Public Works and Infrastructure.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sharon Letlape. I'm a member of the Portfolio Committee on Public Works, deployed by the EFF.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Malebo Kobe, a member of the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members and officials present. My name is Nolutando Makasi, a member of DPWI. Thank you.
Morning all. My name is Windy. Surname is Plakis. I'm a member of Defence.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Namqubalo Ethel Nkosi, member of Public Works. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members and colleagues and officials. My name is Fisam Dagan, Director General for Public Works.
Good morning, Chair, members of the both committees, Deputy Ministers, Adam Abotsi, Acting CFO of Defence.
Morning, Chair, Deputy Ministers, and the members of the both committees. I'm Major General Kekana from Department of Defence.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committees. I am Vice Admiral Mkonto from the Department of Defense. I'm Chief Logistics. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair, and the Deputy Minister Mkungo, and all members of both portfolio committees, the DG, the Secretary of Defense, or the head of the delegation. My name is Sihle Zikalala. I'm a Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. Thank you.
Morning, honorable members, Public Works and Portfolio Committee. Morning, Chairperson. My name is Richard Mkungo, Deputy Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, honorable members present, my name is Cesar Sibande from Public Works. I'm the head of the property management trading entity within the department. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. My name is Pikole Tupambo from Department of Public Works. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to all the members. My name is Zibu Sekele. I do work as a PLO for Deputy Minister Mkungo. Thank you. Bye.
Good morning, Chair, and the rest of the committee members from Public Works and from Defense. I'm Ms. Kosana, GRC, Log Division.
Good morning, Chair, board committees. My name is Commander Ndimande. I'm working in the office of Vice Admiral Mkonto as a PSO. Thank you.
Ready?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I'm not sure if I missed it, but who is the DG of Defense of this unit? Did the person introduce themselves? Is there a DG that's present?
Yes, we do have a DG, the Secretary of Defense.
Where is
acting?
She.
Yeah, we can proceed. We will come to when we deal with apologies.
Okay. Deal with it there. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Deputy Ministers, honorable members. My name is Maslailo Matladi in the Office of the Director General, DPWI. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, honorable DMs, honorable members, DGs, colleagues. My name is Batu Mukhutu from Department of Public Works.
Honorable? Yeah, can we have order in the meeting, please? This is a portfolio committee run according to the rules of Parliament. You are not allowed to speak when another member is on the platform. I will have to behave like a speaker or a chair by expelling some of you from my meeting. But I don't want to be nasty and funny. Let's follow order. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Mufula Saudi Program in Soweto, a visitor.
Good morning, Chair. I'm Honorable Khwekana, serving in the Portfolio Committee of Defense and Military Veterans, deployed by Umkhonto Wesizwe Party. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson, Deputy Ministers present, the DG of Public Works officials, my honorable colleagues. Please don't confuse us as Umkhonto Wesizwe members of being commanders in the defense. We're from Umkhonto Wesizwe Party. My name is Wasteful. I'm glad you have so much of confidence in us. Thank you. Thank you.
Sanbonani igama unathi wakwanxumalo oyilungu le Public Works and Infrastructure Committee deployed by the Umkhonto wesizwe. Siyabonga.
Good morning to everyone from both committees. My name is Edwin McRae Barth from the DA on the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure. Thank you.
Good morning, goeiemorgen. Erik Maree from the Committee Public Works and Infrastructure. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Khadija. I'm the Executive Secretary to the Portfolio Committee on Public Works.
Good morning, Chair and all members. I'm Rathoma Michaels. I'm the Executive Secretary for the Chairperson on Defence.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Inez Stephanie. I'm the researcher for the Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure.
Good morning, honourable members and colleagues. The name is Nola Martinisa. I'm the Committee Secretary, Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure. Thank you.
All the senior management teams will then move to apologies.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair, Deputy Ministers, honourable members, and everyone in the room. There's apologies from the two ministers, Minister of Defence and Minister of Public Works, who are both attending cabinet meeting. There's also an apology from Minister Holomisa, who is representing the minister at the departure ceremony of the late former president of Zambia. And then there's also an apology from the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure, an apology from Honourable Thring and Honourable Mutambi, and then apologies from the staff members, Colonel Advisor and the Committee Assistant of the Committee on Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have also received the apology from the SANDF that will be presented by the Chief of Logistics in today's meeting and General Kekana. Now, in our case, Honorable Reddy, we don't have chief directors and directors. In our case, we've got the Chief of the Defense, the Secretary, then we have generals, brigadiers, major generals, colonels. I don't know their equivalent in your department, what are they called? So we call them like that. So don't expect to see some chief director, you'll see a general or a vice admiral. Or
we are a disciplined group of people.
Honourable Reddy?
Sorry, yes. Chair, I'm just trying to understand, because it's important that the head of the administration, which in our case is the Director General. So I understand you've got all these different titles here. Who then is representing the Director General in the Department of Defence? I think that is important, because the accounting officer for the department will be the DG. And the DG, so is it Admiral, or who is this Admiral or whoever? Because for the purposes of our minutes and for recording and accountability purposes, we will need somebody here who is the deputy or acting or appointed by the DG. And Chair, I'd like you to protect me here. While I'm speaking, there are others that are conversing. There is a person across there who chooses to, it's you, you're the one who's turning around, yeah. That honourable member is having a discussion and smiling and laughing while we're discussing important issues. Please, I beg your protection here. Thank you.
No, you are protected, Honourable Reddy. Look, Honourable members, I think for purpose of information, the head today is Vice Admiral Mkhonto, who is the Chief of Logistics of the South African National Defence Force. He's the Chief of Logistics of the South African National Defence Force. So what do we call a Chief of Logistics? Because assets and other facilities belongs to him. And that's why we called him in. And he's the one who lies with Public Works in most instances. He's our chief buyer, landlord, in terms of our terminology, but we refer to him as the chief of logistics. Honorable Reddy, I would not want a dialogue. I would want us to move with the agenda. Yes.
Chair, as I mentioned, it's important for purposes of record. Is the Admiral who is responsible for logistics, is he representing the DG of the department today? If that is so, then I'm happy. We can proceed.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's so. That's so. Honorable Ade? Can we have one meeting, please?
Please, that's exactly what you called for. Can Chair,
can we have order, honorable members, please?
Please.
Yes.
This is, can I thank you for the clarification? General Kakana didn't say what his role is. He just said he's from SANDF. Can we just see where he fits into the puzzle? Thanks.
Okay, no problem. General Kakana, can you explain your role for members' records?
My role in the DOD is the General Officer Commanding Defense Works Formation under the Logistic Division. Thank
you. Honorable Niehaus, can we move to the, can you prepare the presentation?
Yes, Chair. In terms of the apologies, let me once again register our concern about the absence of the Minister of Defence. I hear that she's in a cabinet meeting, but this meeting is very important. This is not the first time that the Minister is not pitching for very important meetings. And I think it needs to be placed on record that the Minister is now behaving in a disrespectful way to the Portfolio Committee for Defence and Military Veterans with her consistent absence from meetings, and at times when she does come to meetings, there's always an early apology and she leaves. I don't think it's necessary to debate it, but I think it needs to be registered that we are deeply concerned about the conduct of the Minister and the lack of respect that she is showing for the important work that this committee is doing. Thank you.
Yeah, look, I would not want us to engage this point, but a member from the executive, a deputy minister, is here. Maybe I can give him to clarify, Honorable Niehaus.
I'm not sure what to clarify except that this is, in the first place, a joint meeting. Secondly, the apology is treated as it comes, whether it is justified or not. To me, this apology is justified. Fortunately, there's also another apology for the minister, from the minister here. Two ministers are not here on good reason. We need to accept the apology, both ministers.
Okay, thank you. The point is taken. It's noted. Apologies from both ministers are accepted by the meeting. We can then proceed to the presentation so that we deal with the business. Okay, Honorable?
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I was just saying that maybe we are a little bit on the back foot because maybe we don't have the presence of our chairperson, but we also have sort of the same dissatisfaction to register from our portfolio committee. And maybe if we can avoid portfolio committee and narrow discussions and discuss the business that we are here for today that is joint, and we can take up any other personal issues or issues that we have within our specific committees with our committee chairs. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. That helps us to get the way forward. Can we then move to the next item? We are done with apologies. Briefing by DPWI on SANDF building program maintenance projects. We will now give over to the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. In the portfolio committee, the department is led by a member of the executive. I don't talk directly to administrators. I will hand over to the deputy minister to introduce his team. Over to you, Honorable Zikalala.
No, thanks. Once more, greetings to you, Honorable Chair. We also wish to start as Public Works by acknowledging that we know the absence of the Minister who's attending the Cabinet. And I think at some point it will be good that the Parliament and not committees discuss programming of the business of Parliament so that that is not politicized. The second part is our chair of the Portfolio Committee. The apology was presented. She is on leave because of the conditions, health conditions. We are here the administration is led by the DG, Mr. Mtakane. We also have the head of the property management trading entity, which will be commonly referred to as PMTE. It's Mr. Sibande. We also have DDG Muhotu. We have Ms. Pambo, who is in the department responsible for the portfolio of defense. And then we have Masilaelo from DG's office. To start on the issues, there is a context and a particular background here. I think there are pieces of legislation and constitution that governs us. The first is Giyama Act, which places the responsibility of property and asset management of the state under Public Works. And that should be then noted that Public Works is a custodian of all properties of the state. However, two departments are also given that right by the Constitution to other departments. That will be defense and that will be land, Department of Land Affairs or Land Reforms. So we appreciate that we have a dual responsibility in terms of constitution. And that's why at some point there was a meeting between the Minister of Public Works and the Minister of Defense under the 6th administration, where a decision was taken that the two departments must work together, one on devolution of functions. Which are these functions that could be devolved for maintenance, construction, or whatever. And the task team led by two DGs was established at that time. Let me say 2 accounting officers was established at that time. A principal decision was taken that functions wherein Department of Defense has an internal capacity should then be devolved to defense. We appreciate that you've got engineers, you've got number of skilled personnel. And it was then agreed that in those cases, there should be devolution. This is on top of devolution to all departments, which is a circular that was sent, that on maintenance, I think all departments were given a right to maintain up to, I think, 1 million or so. So that decision was taken in the 6th administration, and it was cascading from 2029 SCOPA resolution. A second principal decision was taken that it becomes a problem for department to compete on functions. In this regard, when departments want to devolve functions, they take functions to themselves. Then they go out to contract implementing agencies. The very same implementing agencies that should be doing work on behalf of Public Works. And that competition creates a problem where these infrastructure implementing agencies will know that they've got a secured market in public works. Then they will then grab from other departments. They'll grab from DOT, they will grab from arts and culture, which then create an unsustainable situation. Then public works get perceived as not delivering. Now, the agreement was that there should be clear lines. We delineate and say, these are things that you can do, you will do internally. But if you want to contract, go through public works. Then that was an agreement that was taken and sealed. I think we are coming here with that understanding. We also have a problem that we must upfront. Department of Public Works has had a history of weak capacity. And that comes from what you will see in the 5th administration. In the 5th administration, there was a turnaround, the instability caused by lack of stability in the leadership, both in ministers. You will have a minister, within a short space of time is changed, and you will have a DG, within a short space of time is changed. That weakened the administration of the department. And it also resulted in crippling the capacity to deliver. And we must be upfront that there are stalled projects that we're trying to expedite. But on the side of defense, we were also concerned when we got a letter saying the approach that they are taking from us without proper understanding on how they will implement that. Now, that led to an assumption that when departments engage on devolution, they don't engage on devolution for delivery purpose. They engage on devolution for fiscal control. Fiscal control. And these are issues that we must deal with openly and objectively. I think one of the lessons, which should be the study case, is how both departments manage the refurbishment of military one. I think that should be the case study, because both departments were found wanting. And therefore, it tells you that when you discuss the issue of devolution, at the center is the control of finances, not delivery. We will agree there are areas that should be managed by defense because of specialization. We will not want civilians to be exposed to military equipment and that danger. No, it's fine. But the crux of the matter, which we should confront, is that the devolution, in most cases, it is discussed not objectively, but it is discussed merely for financial control. We are going to present, our presentation will deal with the maintenance backlog, will deal with the state-owned properties occupied by defense, we will deal with issues of suspended project. I must end by saying defense is part of the departments that gives us a headache in creating vacant buildings, wherein you will find that there is a general assigned to stay in a particular house, and then the defense will take a decision that this general must move to a particular post. And when the general or that personnel leaves, that house will not, the Department of Defense will not report to us and say, this person is leaving. As a result, you will have a vacant building. As a result, the vacant building will be illegally occupied. So those are issues that we believe should be discussed. And these are issues that if we will be serious with dealing with these issues, we can manage them and resolve them. There is an issue of payment, which I believe we are pursuing. And I think at an administrative level, we will need that matter to be resolved, wherein DPWI is owed by defense. So I thought I should lay the foundation by going through all of these issues. We are not fixated on ownership. We want delivery and maintenance to be done properly. With that, may I hand over, I believe through DG, Mr. Mtakane, Mr. Sibande will take us through the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable DM, for your introductory remarks. We'll then hand over to Mr. Sibande. Over to you, Mr. Sibande. For purposes of record of the meeting, can you reintroduce yourself to honorable members?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Once again, Deputy Ministers present, honorable members present. My name is Cesar Sibande. I'm responsible for the property management trading entity, which is a component of Public Works. Basically, the entity focuses on facility management, project construction. It also looked at real estate and real estate investment. Those are the core responsible functions of the entity itself. We directly report to the DG and the Minister. And the DG has requested that I present today. And I think the DM has covered 80% of the presentation I'm about to present, Chair. Chair, in the main, we will give the purpose background. We'll also look at the maintenance backlog, state-owned properties occupied by DOD, and also communications we have received from DOD. And we also look at the 5-year analysis of the charges as well as expenditure. Chair, I'm not sure if may I take you through the summary, perhaps, as the DM has clearly presented earlier on. The maintenance backlog and the discontinuation of projects in as far back as 2021 had significantly impacted how we operationalize some of our programs, and to ensure that we manage issues of or OHS issues in relations to safety compliance and moreover the delivery of service. This emanates from the correspondence we received from the colleagues of DOD in 2021 that I will speak about as well during the presentation. We do have legal frameworks that we operate under, which is the GIAMA, the OHSA, the Water Services Act, because we do have some water services functions that we render, both in particular with DCS and the DOD. And some of these issues are faced with serious challenges with regard to underfunding and planning as well. We have also experienced in the last few years, I think that will also be illustrated in our presentation going forward. There's been a serious reduction of accommodation charges, which has an overwhelming impact in terms of our budget. Chair, if I may just give you an illustration, because we're currently dealing with the issues of IFS, and which we are concluding to present, or we have presented to the AG. In 2016-2017, Public Works budget was 17 billion rand. In 2024-25, the total budget for Public Works is 18 billion rand. There has never been any significant increase in the budget over the last 10 years or so. And I'm raising this because it will then give a picture of what we are dealing with, the magnitude of the backlogs in terms of the funding. That has got a serious impact on how you make a mark, because you are scrambling around with limited resources. In real terms, over a period of 9 years, using a discount rate of 6%, the budget should have gone to 28 billion. We are more than 9 billion rand shortfall in terms of our budget. This results to key challenges because if you don't have an adequate budget, your planning also is affected because you've got a quantum of challenges, yet you've got little resources. As to prioritize those resources becomes a mammoth task. And this, I might say, Chair, affects how we spend our budget in reality. How do we then maintain the project life cycle over the period of time? The funding gaps, yes, of course, we had budget. I think the DM has spoken to that. We do have, of course, some programs that we implemented, which we had met with the colleagues that we are looking at, including the debt that is owed by the DOD, which is above R1 billion, that we are currently engaging the colleagues to find a solution and resolve on the matter. There are steps that we've agreed upon, which we are currently implementing, and we hope to see results. So basically today, Chair, we will be presenting the portfolio of our maintenance within the DOD assets portfolio, and we will provide strategic recommendations and how to expedite service delivery and improve project implementation and addressing long-standing backlogs and compliance risk. Chair, I think on the background, as I've said, there are legal frameworks that we operate under, which I've mentioned. However, on bullet 3, I want to emphasize, because this cuts across all departments across the country. We have received numerous prohibition and contravention notices, which have attracted front page headlines, and these are a result of a need for us to perform major upgrades, refurbishments, and some other areas, our capital work. But we are also responsible in terms of the Water Services Act, which was promulgated in 30 June 2023, of which key requirements to conduct green drop, blue drop, and we also have issues in terms of the audit. The maintenance backlog, Chair, across all departments, if you can look into this particular slide, which we have done. It gives a picture. For an example, for Department of Defense alone is 4 billion rand. Those are the maintenance backlogs. Across the country, we were looking at 29 billion rand. That speaks to the very same fundamental fact that one has presented earlier on, that if you look at the budget, the receipt on our cash flow statement of 2016-2017 to the one we have done recently, the budget has never moved an inch. And if you look at the quantum of that shortfall, it's the very same amount, which should be stated around a budget of 29 billion rand. So there is, of course, an accumulative shortfall of 29 billion rand. Chair, the number of properties occupied by DOD across the country, in Bloemfontein, we've got more than 6,000. The most of them are in Cape Town. Some of these properties some are vacant. I'm sorry, 1,000 in Bloemfontein. The majority of them are in Cape Town, which is 5,000, and most of them around Cape Town as well. Unoccupied buildings, vacant buildings. sites which are unoccupied. We have been engaged by the city, we have been engaged by the province to really have a plan to deal with those issues. I think that is the next step that we'll be discussing. In total, there are 24,260 properties within our portfolio for DOD. In the past, we had the SCOPA proposal that because of the challenges public works is facing, DOD must take over the infrastructure development. We also had issues where we issued an invoice in 23-24, 1.3 billion. We managed to only receive 658 million. In 2024-25, DOD only said that they can only afford 738 million rand. So there is a huge shrunk in terms of their budget allocation for public works. As a result, because of our own challenges, because of fiscal challenges, and this has led to a lot of misunderstanding and unnecessarily arguments that might have been resulted in a way in which clients across the departments felt public works is not doing their job adequately, and therefore the mandate should be eroded and be devolved to respective departments. And that is what we are trying to do at the moment, go around on a roadshow and meet our clients and explain the fiscal position that we faced with, and also how do we collaborate and work together. Again, on the 8th of April, we received a letter that we said you need to put on hold the maintenance of the DOD properties. So there are two letters in 2021. It said put on hold on unfunded projects that you are currently undertaking, which means some of these projects were on stage 1, 2, and 3, which means planning has been conducted, site feasibility has been done, so there was no funding for the top structure. 2024, there was a letter that said, hey, public works, we are not happy with your services, and therefore you don't do any, to stop doing any maintenance with us. However, that matter was a matter that our DG took up with Treasury and also the Secretary of Defence Force to have a discussion. That is why we had recently a technical meeting with the DOD team to see if we can find an amicable solution to these challenges. We have, of course, over the period of time that we were unable to really manage and from 2021, since the time we received the first letter, we were unable, of course, to, for example, we received we issued an invoice of 1.1 billion. We did receive the exact amount. 2021-22, we issued an invoice of 1.2 billion. We received the same amount, which we appreciated. 23-24, we issued an invoice of 1.2. We received the same amount. 23-24, we issued an invoice of 1.263, although there was no significant inflation increase. But what happened then? We only received 736 million. 24-25, we received a reduction of 708 million rands. And this had serious, because of the correspondence and the misunderstanding, had a serious impact in terms of how we then execute some of this budget. And one, as I've said, there's been a lot of interventions that we were trying to do to turn things around in the last few months. And the property rates, most of them supplied, the funds went to refurbishment and repairs. We must indicate that the repairs were not executed up to the satisfaction 100% due to the number of inherent challenges that public works had faced at that time. However, if you look at 23-24, we ended up with a shortage to some kind of some sort, because there was a budget that we had to source and find ways to manage, because some of these issues are issues that relates to accruals, where we maintain and the invoices are not issued on time. All right. Over a period of time, the accommodation charges have decreased significantly, Chair. But that also I've said had an impact in terms of our planning and capacity to execute projects. Property rates increase on year was 1.8 billion because some of the funding that we received, the main went to property rates. And the original amount required for DOD was 3.2 billion. However, National Treasury and DOD approved only 1.2. A further reduction of 555 million per DOD took place. Accommodation charges have drastically decreased over the last years, with only 708 million received. Challenge, though, is that there's been an underspending on infrastructure over the last 5 years. That we have acknowledged, that we have not been spending adequately over the last 5 years. There are PIs that dates back as far as 2006 that remains unresolved by Public Works due to the issues that we all aware of. Underperformance by Public Works projects may have contributed to the reasons that the DOD taken a decision to say, look, we are unable to consider you as an implementing agent of choice. But I must also indicate, Chair, that as part of our intervention going forward, these are the issues that we are really looking at. The next slide is looking at commitments. Commitments, project analysis as at the end of April. We had client capital projects. Such first was MTAT as SA1 battalion upgrade to finance, accounting, and salary. And if you look at all of those projects were projects that Public Works has committed, and the total sum of 63 million rands. Those projects are not moving, and we need to find a solution to go back to the drawing table and see how we can work together and get these projects moving. These are the projects on status 3 and 4 that were stopped in 2021. That's the list of projects that we have seen. 44 Parachute Brigade, 4 Artillery Regiment, 4 SI Battalion, 6 SI. Those are the projects, Chair, if you could look at that list. Those projects were stopped in 2021. The list continues. Total of those projects, Chair, the total value of those projects were 4.2 billion rand. And the expenditure for consultants, 597 million. What is also, Chair, very difficult for us. Let me explain some of these issues. Why at times, Public Works find it difficult to execute projects on time within budget. The funding for projects is not transferred directly into Public Works. The funding for projects remains with the user department. We all know most municipalities get the grant funding, which is called conditional grants. It goes straight to the municipalities, and they account for that money. For Public Works, it's the other way around. You only invoice on stages of the project. One, it affects planning, Chair. When you do planning for a project, you take feasibility studies that include geotech studies, environmental impact studies. And what I've discovered, Chair, from our own observation, which is very important, Chair, I must emphasize this, is that once you are planning on stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, the money is already, the department has got the money in their budget for stage 4 and 5. By the time you finish stage 3, the money is returned back to Treasury. It's gone because you could not spend the money in the last 3 years. Budget allocation and planning is not incongruent. It's not aligned. The money being with Public Works funds, Public Works will then ring-fence the funds and then allocate the cash flow budget per the project plan. This is the biggest challenge we had with DOD and the SACP, the client department. That is why a lot of projects have come to a standstill. Secondly, if an invoice is delayed by the client department to be paid for a period of 3 months, it affects the service provider. In most cases, service providers then collapse and vacate projects because it affects their cash flow. So these are some of the results of the devolution framework that was developed in 2007 on the fact that the appropriated budget must remain with client department. And that is why client department are not happy, because they've got the money, but we're not ready to use to spend the money, because we're on stage 1 and 2. Yet the budget, the funding is allocated to a client department. The client department said, what must I do with the money? Because you guys are not moving. But we're talking about people who are not in the infrastructure space. So they don't understand project planning and execution, because they specialize somewhere outside the mandate of Public Works. So these are alignment issues, Chair, that we're currently dealing with, and they are structural in the main. Chair, we also had another project called Shared Savings, which is an old project. It goes back, I'm told, early 2000. The department has been executing this project for years. It aimed at reducing utility cost, water and energy. So what happened here, Chair, is that we appointed service providers. At that time, the funding for utility was with Public Works. And therefore, the agreement here was that whatever saving the service provider, whatever savings that is incurred by the service provider, they will then share the saving, whereby the service provider will only take 50% of the saving amount, not the capital. That has been going well. There were no issues until where the devolution of the utility account, the budget, was then taken to departments. However, the contract remains with Public Works. So Public Works continued to pay for the services, because those services, they were realizing value. Client department, regions, and those user departments were okay with it. They will then realize value. But over a period of time now, because we need to issue an invoice to the client department. The contract was not with the client department, what was with Public Works. And therefore, client departments were not prepared to pay for over a period of time. At the moment, I'm sitting with an overdraft of 4.6 billion rand with Public Works. The major contributor of that is this particular program. When we ask departments, because we have met departments, have you seen a decline in your utility account during the intervention of this program? The answer is yes. However, some have said, we don't have money to pay. We have seen our budget has been cut. So whenever the budget is cut, the first thing we do, we cut Public Works appropriate budget. And that's a fact. So we set with these contracts, and given that there are a lot of contracts, we need to deal with it as Public Works. We are pursuing client departments to honor. Luckily, General Kekane was always saying, Sibanda, give me the portfolio of evidence so that we can see how much was been saved. And with their CFO, we've done that recently with the service providers. We've compiled the history documents, and they were busy auditing that, so that where departments can afford to pay, they can pay. We're also in a process with the DG to engage Treasury, because the savings were realized, and those savings, of course, had an impact in terms of our fiscal bottom line. And therefore, Treasury must come and assist us in this case. Other than that, Chair will have to terminate the service, and the likelihood is that we'll see a spike in the utility accounts bill with these departments. Chair, our recommendation to the committee, apart from the fact that we, as the DMF said, we do provide total facility management, but there are areas like the one military hospital where we are engaging the colleagues to say, look, let us work together in some of these facilities, because for them to be at a pristine level, with all our inherent challenges that we acknowledge, we don't dispute, we acknowledge, we do have our challenges. Let us work together. Where you can assist us in terms of procurement with speed, let us agree. Where you've got skills, let us agree and collaborate, because we're one state, it's one pot from Treasury. There's no different revenue streams. So we're saying, Chair, we present for this presentation and the implications for you to note. We seek your intervention to ensure that we collaborate and not work against each other. It does not bring any value. Yes, we have our own issues. Everybody does in their various space. And the Public Works, unfortunately, affects every department. That project currently on design. Let us see how we can revive those projects, since they will realize into a wasteful and fruitless expenditure that we don't want to undertake to incur. And the 2001 decision that all projects planning must be put on hold, that decision be reversed. But those are the issues that we'll take it up with the colleagues as we move forward. That the DPWI and DOT jointly develop an accelerated execution model, leveraging on the panel of contractors that we've developed, and see whether we can do budget planning together and project execution together. Yes, of course, Chair, I must acknowledge Public Works has been doing things on their own 80% of the time, very little contact with the client departments. We acknowledge that as well. And these are some of the issues that we are addressing, because clients said, we know the communication has not been very good. You guys come as a landlord, but we don't know exactly what you are doing and where. So that part of collaboration is part of our turnaround plan that the DG is also pursuing. And also has given us a mandate to say, look, let us improve the communication and have steering committees with client departments. And then we also want to ensure that all buildings, they comply, and more than that, we are able to reduce costs where necessary. Chair, I thank you for your time and for listening to our challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a follow-up, Honorable Dear?
No. I just wanted to say that is our presentation. In all, we are of a view that if we were to have a technical committee that composed of both departments working together weekly, we could clear up these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dear. We'll now give before we allow members to ask questions, members can prepare their questions. We'll take them after the presentation by the DOD. I would request we do that so that, because our day is short today, we are supposed to be done by 12:30, so that we allow members to catch buses to the 2:00 meeting.
I don't want to ask a question, just an understanding.
Okay.
From the department, I would like to know why was a different version of this presentation sent to us, and the one that was now presented has got pages inserted and pages deleted. Where does it leave us now, as far as we interrogate this and ask questions? Why do we have a different presentation presented to us than one was sent to us up front?
Okay, I'm sure the department would prepare to answer honorable members. We just want to make you aware that in terms of the rules of parliament, if you mislead the portfolio committee, it's a serious ethical matter. So you must answer the portfolio committee as to why what you have submitted is different from what you are presenting, because in terms of our rules of parliament, it's a serious offense. It's actually even criminal. Okay, we'll then give over to the Department of Defense. Honorable Niels?
No, on a matter of point of order, how we manage this meeting. My colleague, Mr. Hartang, had asked a question. We need the answer. Whether we get that answer now or later, but I think we should be given the answer now. Why did we get a different, changed presentation from the one that we received in our information packs? Please.
Honorable?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to appeal to both members from different committees that we allow presentations and be finalized, because I can also from Public Works ask why I don't have this copy of presentation from Defense. To avoid that, let's be much holy. Let's wait for question and answer period and allow them to present. Thanks so much.
Honorable Plugis?
No, honorable member, that is not what we are complaining about, having or not having the presentation. The issue is we have a presentation, but what was presented is not the same as what we are having. So that is the issue. The first, I thought myself, when they start the presentation, I thought I wanted to ask you, Chair, are the presentation the same? Because why? What was presented is not what we are having. So our problem is that leads to what we were saying, Chair, misleading the portfolio committee. So we must just clarify that one.
Okay, on persuasions of members, maybe let's allow DPWI to respond to that question before we proceed to defense. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable members. Chair, Ngokuzithoba, with due respect, we got the invite to the meeting last week, and it was a joint portfolio committee meeting, Chair. We did prepare a presentation, and we apologize that the presentation that was sent is not the correct presentation that has been vetted by my office and that of the DG. That's why we sent another one yesterday afternoon, and to correct the first one. However, the changes on the first one and this one was just to expand on the information which we felt will be critical for this meeting, Chair. We have not changed the presentation, we augmented the presentation, and it was shared yesterday. If for that reason, Chair, we must apologize. And we also, Chair, we wanted to be guided as to the content and expectation, and that we could not find much information, and we really apologize if that is the case, Chair, and we did our best under the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize noted. I think members, we can allow the Department of Defense to proceed, but we are coming back to you, Public Works, on number of questions. This will also need further clarification because I also would want to comment on it. Over to you, General Kekana. Permission is granted that you can present to the portfolio committee, but before you start, you don't account to the portfolio committee. It's your minister whom we play oversight on. My apologies. But for you, the permission is granted. Honorable Mkungo, over to you, Honorable DM. I nearly took him for the military council, but it's okay. You can proceed. Is your mic on?
Yeah, sorry. I'm not prepared to preempt what has to be presented here because it might look like it's a power play. All I have to say is that the issues at hand here is about the capacity. We are a major department with complexities. Sometimes we have big properties, but at the same time, we have a right to privacy. There is intelligence involved in our department and all of those. The issue depends on service delivery, how we render services, versus the capacity to do so. And the background is how this led to the current situation. I think my colleague presented it very well, except that there are certain issues when he analyzed narrated issues that we may not agree with, you know, because the extent of independence of each department is very much important. Where we feel as a defense department that we want to be independent in this field, we have a right to do so. Sometimes, from time to time, we do assess the extent of being dependent to the other department and decide how do we become independent in those fields. All I want to say is that the Minister of Defense remain accountable on all our properties, while the Department of Public Works executes certain functions without being accountable to us. We are dissatisfied about the extent of service in certain areas. Therefore, we have to engage. I think I take the proposal towards the end of the presentation by my colleague, in that we have to engage from time to time as a department. These are the issues. You know, we don't want to feel that there's a department that is superior to us. We want to be superior. Thank you very much, Chair.
Honorable Reddy.
Chair, out of respect for the Deputy Minister, I really want to respect him. He should not have spoken, because he's opened up a whole can of worms, and I'm beginning to question who is his advisor, because clearly he doesn't understand the law and what is the responsibility of the different departments here. So I don't want to embarrass him. I will just discard what he said. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Reddy. I would not want a dialogue. That is Honorable Reddy's opinion. We can deal with it at another platform. Can you switch off your mic, Honorable DM? We will then now allow General Kekana to do the presentation. I'm sure the remarks by the DM of power play, we will deal with them when we deal with question and answer session, so that we avoid a confrontation in terms of role clarification. But for now, General Kekana, Honorable DM Zigalala, we run our committee differently. We work on command and order in this portfolio committee. So we will grant the permission to General Kekana to present. General, permission granted.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Ministers present, members of the committee, and administrators from the two departments. I won't ask permission again. It has been granted already. I'll be doing the presentation on behalf of the Chief of Logistics. That is in relation to the progress that we have already made in terms of the development of functions of infrastructure from Department of Public Works to the Department of Defense. Our aim, as I've indicated earlier, is just to give the progress in terms of what have we achieved, what is still outstanding in terms of the agreement that was made between the two departments that the infrastructure functions must be devolved. In the main, what we'll be looking at is just to provide a short background, also to look at the guidelines that we received from the Standing Committee on Appropriations. What are the infrastructure functions that need to be devolved? Also, we look at the projects, leases, and the capacitation of the Department of Defense. Honorable Chair and honorable members, in 2018, both Departments of Defense and Department of Public Works, we appeared before the Standing Committee on Appropriations in 2018, whereby it was agreed between the then two Ministers of Defense and the Public Works during the committee that the DOD should take over its functions because Public Works has no business in rendering those functions to the DOD. It was also agreed that the DoD must re-establish its capabilities and take over its functions from DPW. That decision, Chair, I must say mainly it was informed by the poor conditions of the DoD facilities as a result of the inability of DPW to execute appropriate maintenance. But it was not only limited to that. In terms of the legislative frameworks that I think the Deputy Minister of Public Works has alluded to, in the Constitution, Annexure Section 7(4), Annexure D of our Constitution, it makes provision that the DoD properties must devolve around the Minister of Defense. Also, we look at the Defense Act, Section 82, which gives the minister the authority and the powers to be the custodian of all DoD facilities.
Order, General. Before I'm in trouble with members of the committee, the source you are quoting, can you share it with the meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right. Please, can we do that? You can proceed.
Okay, I'll make it available, Chair.
Can one of the officers go for printing?
Sorry. Through you, Chair. Are you expecting that we will follow and then respond based on the presentation flighted because we were not given the documents? I'm just asking because we have to comment.
Or you don't have documents of this presentation?
No, we don't. There are two issues here. I fully concur with Honorable Reddy. What he is presenting, what he is saying is might not be in a document, might not. But we don't have the document.
Okay.
We have not been given the document that is presented, and that should have been done before our arrival here. And I don't think, as defense, you are ready for this meeting.
Yeah, honorable members, I don't want us to discuss this matter for too long. I will give Honorable Niaus and Honorable Plakis and Honorable DM. Honorable Zikalala, I've asked the Secretariat to clarify the meeting.
Deputy Minister, the presentation was shared with the Committee Secretary of the Public Works, and it was shared with the members. The members do have. And then I think the PLO in your office should furnish you with the presentation.
No, thanks. I've got a copy now from the general. But I know that, the defense is known of ambush. So maybe it was a bit of that. On a lighter note, thank you.
All right, Honorable Plakis.
No, Chair. As much as we got the presentation, can those who are presenting stick to the presentation and don't try to improvise? Let them deal with the presentation that we have in front of us. You are right, DM. As much as you don't have the presentation, there's something else that is presented there that is not here. And I think the chair have now intervened and said that the sharing document must be given to us. But can we stick to the presentation given to us, please?
Agreed. Yeah, Honorable Nios.
Yes, Chair. Let me just agree with my colleague. And please, can we ask everyone to stick to presentations? We've got two presentations here. The first one, we had trouble with it because it was not representing what was thrown on the screens. And now we have some quotes being read out to us of this and that in terms of the law. It's not in the presentation. Please, if you want to give us a presentation where there's a quote from the law, then put it in the presentation. For how long have we been asking for these things to be done in this manner? The Department of Defense knows how many times we've complained. So honestly, Chair, I'm getting sick and tired of the way things are being done. We should have professional presentation, and we don't get it. So please, now stick to the presentation and share with us what you've shared with us, because we as a committee have complained about the Department of Public Works not giving us the right presentation. Here you come, you do the same thing. It is out.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Niaus. I think thank you very much, Honorable Reddy. I would request that we proceed with the presentation and stick to the points as the way they are in the presentation, for the sake of progress of the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Will allow you to proceed, General.
Thank you, Chair. I think on the last point, I would like to indicate that the decision for the devolution was also mainly informed by the poor conditions of DOD facilities as a result of the inability of DPW to execute a proper maintenance. Now, Chair and the honorable members, the guidelines that we received in 2018 from the SCOA that was given to both departments was that we must establish an interdepartmental task team.
Order. Honorable members, can we have order and allow the General to proceed so that we can engage both reports? It's very much critical. In our case, we deal with national security, so every matter counts. Honorable member?
Thank you, Chair. Do we continue to distribute these as they have been told to stop presenting from them? What do? We just need direction from you, Chair.
Look, it will just be a source document. We stick to the presentation.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, proceed.
First guideline that we received, both departments from the SCOA in 2018, was that we must establish an interdepartmental task team that is made up of the two departments being the DOD and DPW. That will be supported by the Department of Public Safety and Administration and the National Treasury. Up to now, we can confirm, Chair, that the guidelines were implemented by both the Secretary for Defense and the DG of DPW, which was during the meeting that they had on the 11th of December 2020, whereby a joint task team was established between the two departments. Secondly, the task team between the DOD and DPW, we met several times in 2020 up to 2022, which resulted in some of the functions being devolved, as I'll be alluding to them in the following slides. I think the Deputy Minister of DPW has indicated that in 2023, the previous administration, both Ministers of Defense and DPW, they also met in order to address certain issues that were encountered by the task team, and they provided an executive direction towards the devolution. In 2023, sir, the Portfolio Committee on Defense and Military Veterans, they also met and emphasized the guidelines that were provided by SCOA, with further emphasis that the defense works capability must be fully capacitated in order to take over the functions from DPW. As a DOD, you have then engaged National Treasury, the DPSA, and the DPW, where they've assisted us in terms of trying to create our organizational structure for the defense works capability. This is still in process, Chair, but we foresee that the whole process will be concluded by the end of the current financial year, which is March 2026. In trying to capacitate the defense work capability to take over the functions, we've also entered into several agreements with other institutions, the TVET colleges, the NHRBRC, and the municipalities, whereby they're going to assist us in terms of providing the necessary training that we require for our built environment officials, as well as the various artisanship trades that we require within the built environment. We are also providing the funding for our members to go and study facility-related courses or the built environment courses with institutions of higher learning, such as the colleges and some of the universities. Chair, in terms of the functions that must be devolved, I must indicate that in 1998, it was a deliberate action by the Department of Defense to outsource the following functions to DPW as a result of the DOD having to rationalize and downsize. The functions included the management of the municipal services, accommodation charges, which entails emergency repairs, day-to-day maintenance, payments of rates and taxes. Also, the other function was the leases as well as projects. Those are the functions that we outsourced and they had to be devolved. So far, the progress that has been made is that the municipal services has been fully devolved to the DOD since the 1st of April 2020. And we are fully executing and managing the function. In terms of accommodation charges, as I indicated, where it includes emergency repairs, day-to-day maintenance, as well as rates and taxes. Only emergency repairs and the day-to-day maintenance under this function have been devolved since 1st of April 2024. Both emergency repairs and the day-to-day maintenance. The function that still needs to be devolved is the rates and taxes. I think the previous presentation also alluded to this, that the DPW in this regard is reluctant to devolve the function, where they cite that they are the custodian of all state facilities or the state properties. As a result, the DOD, we are making payment of rates and taxes in terms of accommodation charges that is allocated to us to DPW on a quarterly basis. However, we do experience some challenges where, in some cases, we are forced to pay the municipalities money for rates and taxes because the DPW have not paid the municipalities that money that we have paid over to them. And as a result, it leads to some of our services being discontinued in our bases. Hence, we have to take the initiative to pay for that. As well as some of the municipalities who still recognize DPW as the custodian of state properties, they are refusing to give us the invoices so that we are able to make those payments. However, this matter has been taken up between the DG and the minister, where they indicated that at their earliest convenient time, they will meet and then try and resolve this issue or provide us with a direction. In terms of the other infrastructure functions that need to be devolved, in the projects, as I alluded earlier, we had 111 capital projects that were registered with Department of Public Works and 79 refurbishment projects before the decision was taken. Now, in a task team that was established between the two departments, we have agreed that we will jointly manage those projects that are in the construction phase due to their contractual obligations. In the capital environment, there's 18 projects, and then in refurbishment is 16. And the other projects, out of this 18 and 16, they were placed on hold to enable the DOD to go and reprioritize. Now, as a DOD, we went and do the reprioritization out of what we said it must be put on hold. Out of those, since 2022, we managed to finish 7 projects. 10 will be delivered in the current financial year, and then 6 that are in the planning phase, which will be delivered in the MTEF. In terms of the leases, as a function that also needs to be devolved, when the decision was made, we had 78 leases that the DPW was managing on behalf of the DOD. Once again, during the task team between the two departments, it was agreed that whenever the lease expires, the DOD will make a decision whether to take over the process of renewing the lease or will request the DPW to assist. In this case, DPW role will be clearly defined as to what is it that they're going to do for the DOD. Also, the DOD will also make a decision on the requirement of the new leases if we are going to use the services of the DPW or not. Thus far, the DOD have managed to reduce the lease footprint from 178 to 144 by relocating some of those entities that were in the lease facilities to state-owned facilities. And those leases were terminated. In terms of the capacitation of the Defence Works Formation, so far, the Defence Works capability is capacitated as follows. We have 5 built environment professionals in various professions in the built environment. We have 4 members who are registered with the various councils as a candidates. And we have 84 members who have a qualification, either a national diploma or a degree in a built environment in the various fields, who have not registered and are not professionals. In this case, we are encouraging them to register so that they can become professionals. And then we also have 1,003 artisans in various fields of trades, artisanship trades. And then we also got the facility managers, 4 of them. And additional to that, 5 of them that are busy with their studies, which they will be concluding by the end of this year. We also have 4 qualified environmental impact assessors. That is the capacitation that we have in the Department of Defense so far. However, to augment that, we also provide an upskilling for our artisans so that they can be multi-skilled. That type of training is happening at our Defense Works Training School. That also includes the on-job training for already qualified artisans. We have also partnered with the SETA institutions that include NBHRC. I must indicate here that the NBHRC of this week, we are training 35 members in the construction project management. ESCOM, we are busy with them where they are training our members in a high voltage electricity, management of high voltage electricity. And the municipalities also in the stormwater management. We are also seconding our candidates, officials, to the projects so that we can assist them in their preparation to register with the various councils. We are also looking, after our structure has been finalized, we are looking at going to recruit qualified artisans and the built environment professionals from the TVETs and the universities. In conclusion, Chair, we are committing ourselves that we will continue to engage with DPW so that we address those areas of concerns regarding the devolution of functions. And we are also committing that we'll ensure that our structure is finalized so that we have a full complement of trained people who will be able to execute those functions. I thank you.
Thank you very much, C-Log.
Thank you, Chair.
Are we covered?
Yes, Chair, we are covered, but we wanted to qualify some of the legislative framework that the Deputy Minister of Public Works mentioned. I wanted to emphasize that we've got a common understanding on those policies. And we wanted to comment as well about the invoices that were mentioned by the President of DPW, that we owing them some funds. And I just wanted to qualify that in terms of the details, where we demanded we demanded some proof of that requirement that we couldn't get from DPW to date. It means that the 1.1 or 1.6 billion rands that required, they actually demanded from us, they couldn't justify it. So these are smaller issues, operational and technical issues that needs to be dealt with between ourselves and DPW. And since now we've been the last 5 years trying to come together and solve some of the issues, we couldn't actually find now our common grounds on that. And I appreciate that if that committee can be put back, and then so that we can be able to solve these problems. We're very much comfortable that all the functions that have devolved, the Defence Force is able to provide the service, especially within our facilities. Thank you, Chair. Maybe General Kekana might add something on those invoices.
No, you are covered. He has done his presentation. It's now for members.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Minister, my apologies, sir.
Yeah, you are appearing before the Portfolio Committee. It's us who must have the largest time to ask questions so that we are clarified. Because in our constitutional democracy, we have three arms of the state. We are playing oversight. You are the executive. There is the judiciary. That's why I normally would not write a judgment on behalf of any judge or present the State of the Nation address on behalf of the executive. But I can play oversight to ensure that there's value for money for the taxpayers. So that's why you are before us. I would allow members to ask probing questions. Honorable Reddy, noted. Yeah, let's start.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes. Yeah, you are noted. I will come back to you. Okay. Let's start at the back.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I just think, let me first be upfront and say to you that as a committee, Department of Public Works, we didn't have a prior meeting with access to this information. Much of it came to us in the form of presentations that were sent to us via email. So we've gone through that. So we don't have any position as a committee on this. But what I see coming forward through the presentations from both Defence and Public Works is an understanding of the law. And to me, I think there are some grey areas that what we would need is to get some legal clarity, because I think going forward, there may be a need for us to clarify those grey areas. Let me explain what I mean. We have GIAMA, which is Act 19 of 2007. Section 5 of GIAMA mandates that user departments, there's a breach from what I see, a breach of Section 5 of GIAMA, which mandates user departments to maintain assets in a functional condition. So you've got GIAMA on the one hand, then you have the constitutional provisions on the other, and the Defence Act of 82, which says that the Department of Defence has that responsibility. Now, GIAMA also gives Public Works a responsibility to manage and maintain government buildings. And because Defence has some sensitive buildings, as you've raised, there may be a need for us to then look at an amendment to the law to allow you to be able to do that. Now let's look at and I want to know in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the OSA, Section 16, 1 and 2, who is legally accountable for the numerous prohibition notices that were issued against DOD, occupied properties, due to safety non-compliance. I think if you could just make a note of the questions and then you could respond. Yeah. Or do we want to do like how sports does, where we start engaging, get an answer?
Honorable Reddy, I would request that they note the question.
Okay, thank you very much.
I would ask honorable members just to be short. Today is a short day. We still have to go for the 2 o'clock meeting, and it's a 3-line whip.
Yes, no, mine is just 2 more questions, Chair, and I'm done. How does the department justify spending over 1 billion rands worth of critical infrastructure projects when it has already incurred expenditure on professional fees? Isn't this a potential violation of Section 38(1)(c), subsection 2 of the Public Finance Management Act, which forbids fruitless and wasteful expenditure? And has the Auditor General flagged this in any recent reports? Finally, Chairperson, what legal authority did the Department of Defense rely on to issue the directive dated 7th July 2021 and again on the 8th of April 2024, suspending all maintenance and new projects? This is contrary to its duty under GIAMA and its contractual obligation to pay accommodation charges. Was this decision communicated to or approved by Parliament or the National Treasury? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. I want to ask some few questions with DPWI. Why has the DPWI constantly failed to maintain military infrastructure despite collecting billions in accommodation charges over the past 5 years? What disciplinary measures have been taken against officials responsible for underspending and mismanaging state infrastructure budget? Why has the DPWI not fully devolved functions such as rates and taxes, despite repeated portfolio committee and SCOA directives? How does the ANC government justify DPWI's continue custodianship of DOD facilities when it has demonstrably failed to uphold OHSA compliance and cause operational disruptions? What is the plan to recover losses from professional fees already spent on projects that were never executed due to DOD's 2021 decisions to hold cooperation? When will the ANC government ensure full implementation of the Defence Works capability structure and properly funds its training and recruitment plan?
Yeah, where's the ANC?
Why? Huh?
Order, Chair.
Finish? You can finish, Honorable Khwekane. Can we allow the member to finish? Honorable Khwekane. Honorable members, can we have order? We are in a portfolio committee. It's not a debate. The member is asking questions. Allow him that right.
Yeah. Why?
Okay. All right, we can allow you to finish.
Why have no criminal or administrative consequences followed from service disconnections and potential fruitless expenditure related to lease and rates mismanagement? Lastly, what immediate measures will be taken to ensure that no further military operations are disrupted due to DPWI's failure to manage infrastructure? In conclusion, Chair, the GNU-led government inability to enforce performance accountability and cooperation between the DPWI and DOD reflects a deeper crisis in public sector management. The continued decay of critical military infrastructure is a national security risk, and Parliament must demand decisive action. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. All members are protected. Raise questions. Others, please don't feel offended. You have a chance to reply when you speak. So there must be no confusion, no disruption. You can proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. So I just wanted to say up front that the presentation provided by the DPWI does make it look as though the department itself has been set up for failure by the Department of Defense. There's a lot of money outstanding from Defence to Public Works. And if you have a look at Public Works, which is a department that's trying to run like a property management company, a property management company cannot generate, cannot pay for capital expenditure, maintenance rates. These are things that are needing to be paid to various service providers and municipalities. But if that money is not being paid, then Public Works can't pay it forward, let alone do your maintenance or your capital expenditure. So that's just the feeling that I got from the presentation. And what I think is important to note around, or to question, put to the committees around the question of devolution. Public Works has devolved certain responsibilities to the police service, for example, to SAPS. And I think we can all agree, I think every one of you who has a SAPS police station in your constituency can say whether or not you feel that that SAPS police station is in a good condition. I'm not talking about the services, I'm talking about the buildings. So what is the difference between, what is DOD going to do differently from SAPS if this item is devolved to it? That's the question that I want to ask. I then also want to caution that, according to the law and to Guillaume, Public Works remain the custodian of all government-owned assets. So what stops, for example, the DOD allowing the complete deterioration of some of these assets and then just walking away from them and making it Public Works' problem? Because at the end of the day, by law, Public Works is the custodian of those assets. I want to direct a question to the Department of Public Works. You guys have a user asset management plan and custodian asset management plan system whereby departments that you service tell you what issues they have, what needs to be fixed, maintained, built, whatnot. I want to know how cooperative DOD is when it comes to submitting these annual plans, and how competent their teams are, and how well responded to they are by the department in terms of their issues. I then want to just direct one or two questions to the Department of Defence. I think it's very concerning that the Department of Defence, who can't pay Public Works the monies owed to it, are wanting to take over the responsibility for paying property rates. Property rates are funds that are desperately needed by municipalities in order for municipalities to function and deliver their basic services. So I think it's a huge risk, personally, should that sort of function be devolved to DOD, who have proven through what we've seen today, unable to service their costs. And then lastly, I find it very concerning that it was mentioned earlier that there are certain properties owned by the Department, or no, not owned, sorry, used by the Department of Defence that are invaded. How embarrassing. How can we say that our Department of Defence cannot protect the properties that it's been mandated to use from land invasion? In my constituency in KZN, the Howick Air Force Base, which is also a shooting range, has been completely invaded by more than 200 houses have been built on that property. There's no services, no electricity, no water, but the Department of Defence allowed it to happen and now have made it Public Works' problem to solve. So those are just some comments that I want to make. How does the DOD allow this to happen, and what are you doing to prevent this from happening? Because you guys are using the properties. You guys are using the properties, but you're allowing them to be invaded.
Thank you, Honourable.
Thank you.
All right. Honourable Niels.
Thank you, Chair, and let me thank again the two presentations that we have received, although both of them were not complete and unfortunately not properly presented to us in advance. Chair, I want to start off with raising a concern about the capacity of both departments, because I think this is the context in which we need to have this discussion. I do not want us to have a standoff between the Department of Defence on the one hand and the Department of Public Works on the other hand, because then we are going to get absolutely nowhere. But there is a history where the Department of Defence has been failed by the Department of Public Works. I can give numerous examples, but I'm only going to concentrate on one, because it's the one that is most glaring in our faces, and we have also paid an oversight visit to one military hospital. That particular project was a disaster from inception. And that inception process started by mistakes that had been made by the Department of Public Works. Now, unfortunately, those mistakes then cascaded over years, and it was evident that the solution that the Department of Public Works presented to the Department of Defense for one military hospital was inappropriate right from the beginning. It was a so-called refurbishment process, what was called in terms of abbreviation ramp in Afrikaans. And it turned out into a ramp because there were no clear technical understanding of what the requirements were that a highly technical project such as one military hospital demanded. It wasn't a maintenance project like, for instance, a prison or a police station, much more. But yet, the Department of Public Works presented it as such. And the consequences were foreseeable, and it turned into a disaster. Now, Chair, I think it is understandable that the Department of Defense, on the basis of such experiences, have a problem. And I can tell you, because I sit in other portfolio committees, there are other departments, such as the Department of Correctional Services, where I'm an alternate member, that raises serious problems with the way in which the Department of Public Works operates. But let me pause there. Now, is the solution then for the Department of Defense to issue 2 letters as they've done and say we take over? I can state to you categorically here, Chair, that is not the solution. Because you and I and all of us in this portfolio committee have experienced how the Department of Defense operates and its operational inadequacies. Chair, I'm not confident that the Department of Defense can take over these functions. And the presentation that we received from the department this morning, where they gave us, there on slide 12, DoD infrastructure delivery capacity. I'm sorry. This is a huge portfolio of properties, of maintenance, of management. What you are presenting to us is not going to cut the mustard. I have been on oversight in Tabatswane. I've seen what your properties look like, and I understand that a large part of your problem is because of a dysfunctionality between yourselves and the Department of Public Works. But I also understand that a large part of the problem is that your internal capacity to maintain and make sure that those properties will function is not there. I also have listened to your presentation about encroachment onto your properties. And I can tell you that a large part of that problem is not Public Works' problem. It's your problem. Mismanagement and corruption. I told you in the previous meeting that part of the reason why there is encroachment into Walmansdal and other Defence Force bases is because of corruption. Because there are people inside those bases and part of the officer corps who participate in allowing material of the South African National Defence Force to be pilfered away and to be sold off as scrap metal. That's your responsibility. Now, Chair, the essence of what we need to do today is to butt the heads together of the Department of Public Works and the Department of Defense. But my problem is, even the 2 presentations that we received today tell me that there is a competency and a communication problem. And I'm concerned whether this cooperation and this joint committee that has been set up, that has been chugging along, is in fact communicating with each other about the real needs that the Department of Defense have. You are experts in miscommunication. And you gave us a full demonstration of it this morning again. So, Chair, we need to have an emergency, I'm concluding, we need to have an emergency situation, which must not be dealt with at lower ranking level, whether it's at the general level or at the DG level in the Department of Public Works. But the ministers must make sure that they get their heads together, that there's a clear instruction, that they come up with a clear plan on how Department of Public Works is going to deliver and how the Department of Public Works is going to provide in the capacity that is required, because I tell you right now, Defence does not have that capacity. And we want, as a committee, a report back, not in a year's time, but in at least the next month, of how you are going to proceed from here and how you are going to optimize the finances that are available and how you're going to resolve also this perpetual problem that you have where you disagree about invoices. If you can't agree about the invoices, which is a simple matter, and I saw the Deputy Minister shook his head saying, yes, it is not a big matter, it can be resolved. Then, how are you going to resolve the rest of your problems if you cannot solve that issue? So please, all of this has got to do with communication, coordination, and making sure that we understand that we are one government and that every department is part of one fiscus and one financial solution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I see we are running out of time, and I will try and limit myself to questions and not to comment and lectures. Chair, what we have here is a result in breakdown in trust over many, many years, which led to that letter. And when I saw that letter, I immediately thought of something that happened in a neighboring country 60 years ago, a UDI. Now, with the history of this unilateral declaration of independence, and what that was, in fact, the gist of that letter. But, Chair, giving the background, we are seeing the same independence from the SANDF here, trying to do their own thing, what we see in Simonstown. And the blames are exactly the same. Blaming is exactly the same. It's a blaming game. The Department of Defense saying it's not paying because Department of Public Works and Infrastructure doesn't deliver. The Public Works says they can't deliver and they've got restricted performance because the Department of Defense doesn't pay. So where does it leave us? There was a joint task team. And I'm putting this as a question, where does it leave us? And perhaps both departments should respond. There was a joint task team that was abandoned after the UDI. And then the ministers got together. And here we sit. And yes, the primary custodian of the property is Department of Public Works. But what does the Department of Public Works do when they see that one of their sub-custodians is not fulfilling their obligations? There's evidence all over South Africa in every single province, every city of that happening with the public property, where Department of Public Works is the custodian, but their tenant, Department of Defense, sometimes abandon the property and just leave it. And we had the report of encroachment. So I would like to know, is there a list of these properties that the Department of Public Works feel that should not be even handled by the Department of Defence anymore because of the fence and of abandonment? We saw a horrendous series playing off about the Mere Bank military facility in Durban. Now, who cares about that? Only the media cares about it, apparently, because there was a fake SANDF media statement on it, and on the same day, the media statement was repudiated by the media house. Same day. So my question is, where the SANDF do not really need, cannot really afford a property anymore, what do? Do they just pack up and go? Is there a process? Chair, and then I need to get the understanding of the cooperation, or rather the lack of cooperation, because everybody knows this. The President knows this, the ministers knows it, the DGs know this, SecDef knows it, but it cannot be business as usual. We're talking about billions. And it's not only the physical property infrastructure that's going down the drain, it's what's inside it in many instances that's going down the drain. Prime mission equipment. Our military equipment is going. Because there cannot be preservation because the cables are stolen. So the preservation stores cannot be maintained at the specific humidity. There are no alarm systems. Fences are being stolen, equipment are being stolen, like my colleague has stated. So, then, getting down to the projects in status 3 and 4, and I don't know because I've got two presentations, some here and some are there. It's 600 million rand wasted. So, this is fruitless and wasteful, unless there is an... So, what are we going to do about that? Whose responsibility is the 600 million fruitless and wasteful? Is it a SANDF responsibility, or is it the Department of Public Works? Who's going to claim it's our fault? Who's going to do that? Then, and I would like to add on to what was said. There's an annual report by Treasury about creditors being paid. We all know which is the worst department paying creditors in South Africa. It's the Department of Defence. Having more than 80% of the non-payments, late payments, every year. It's standard, it's there. So now this Department of Defence wants to go on its own. We've got the dockyard history, we've got the public works history, we've got municipalities all over the country, which I don't know whose responsibility is it Defence or Public Works? Nothing makes sense in this. So, Chair, if I can get responses from both, it's actually two-pronged, both on this aspect. And then the final question, please, you cannot look at Parliament on this committee and on our colleague committee to give you the roadmap ahead. What is the roadmap ahead? How does the Department of Defence see after the UDI? What's the road ahead? Our infrastructure is going down. It's a downward spiral. How does the Department of Public Works see the roadmap? Where are we going to from here? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. In that order.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Well, I'm just looking to the first comment made by the Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. That, he's making allegations that the devolution is not an issue alone. There is also an issue of the fiscal control. Maybe if the Department of Defense can say something, what is their comment on that? Because, it's something serious that we must take into consideration. Then at the second one, the Deputy Minister mentioned that there are buildings that have been vacated by some generals from the Defence Force, but your department as Defence has not communicated with them to say these, generals have moved out. maybe if, the Deputy Minister can give, a list, if there's such happening, of those, houses that are being vacated, but there's no communication from the defense. Then I just want to know, when it comes to the issue of the one military hospital as well as the two military hospitals, well, especially in a one military hospital, there is an issue of equipment that was purchased but cannot fit in the building after the renovation. Just want to know whether a clear specification of those equipment were given to the Department of Public Works to ensure that when that equipment comes in, is able to be installed inside there. And also the cost of that equipment, and then what's going to happen with that equipment as it has failed and it has taken more than 5 or 6 years sitting there, whether it's going to still be usable in the department. Now, well, I cannot dwell much on the issue of the land invasion, but it's worrying that even in the offices there are break-ins inside the military base. That now it means now the soldiers themselves there, they cannot afford even to stop people breaking inside into their own properties, or special offices, stealing the equipment, their office equipment. That is also, worrying. And I think, if one continues, you have mentioned that it's about 7 finalized projects done internally in the department. Just want to know, what are those projects and where are they? And at the same time, what is the cost, estimate cost for you after doing those projects? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
I'm sure members are aware it's already past 12 to 1 o'clock. So as we make our input, let's be considerate that we still have to go to the canal walk for the 2 o'clock meeting. I don't want to limit you. I just want to sensitize you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to save this time. I think this is a quite interesting debate we are having as these joint committees. And my analogy is that this is a case of twins. Now, if that is the case, they are identical, but with different responsibilities. And those responsibilities are guided by laws. Hence, I agree with Honorable Reid that the legal opinion is needed on this matter. That's the first area we have to do. The other area is that the duty of leadership is to explain its position and decisions convincingly. I'm not convinced by a defense presentation on this question. Therefore, it's an area that we have to look at. Also, the other thing I'm beginning to see is that we're mixing issues and tissues. We don't differentiate. Because there are specific things that I think we must get. Just a few questions to save time. The first one is that in the presentation by the defense, it's as if devolution is already taking place. Then the question, who authorized devolution? That's the question that I'm asking. Because on the presentation usually gets from the public works is that devolutions payments are only on services to municipalities that are given to departments only. If we're misled by a department, we'll do that in our committee. Also, the other issue that I think is important, I took it very light, was when the Deputy Minister said this is a question of power play. You see, in the presentation we get it, but I think what I want to appeal on is that if you want to get things right in terms of development, you must get basics right. I think this debate between these two committees will remain as long as the committee, between the technical committee, between the two departments have not yet met or a report is not yet presented to us as these committees, what they were discussing, what were the gaps, and what are the areas of disagreements. That can give us at least a way forward on how to do things. As long as it's not here, we'll always found wanting. The other last issue I want to speak about, when was the last time that the defense provided a user asset management plan to the Department of Public Works? Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Chair, thank you for the opportunity. I think.
Okay. Oh, I did not see your hands. Sorry, Ndabezita, you can proceed. We'll follow that order then. Over to you, Your Royal Highness.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I think the most points that I have jotted down have been covered by my colleagues because the issue of dilapidation of the buildings of public works, of defense, I mean to say, where public works is responsible for having done fair maintenance. I think it has been has been taken on that one. The issue was mentioned in Pretoria, where the living conditions of the soldiers, the outsourcing of the renovation of the flats where members of the SANDF are staying, that leaves a lot of questions to be answered. The devolution, of certain functions. Shellenberg has taken that one because I have even noted it down regarding that maybe there are suspicions from the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure that maybe they want to hold on to the functions because maybe they are having those opportunities of maybe trying to control the awarding of the tenders and dealing with those issues. Chairperson, the other issue is that this process has started some years back. We should be by now have finalized it. And one wonders actually whose responsibility it is to have these departments trying to fast-track the process and iron out the differences so that they could maybe go back and implement what is expected of them, rather than here pointing fingers at each other. Because it's seemingly the other points to the other department to say it is responsible of this department, we should have done so. Whereas, as we were as was reported that Public Works has been having that responsibility of maintaining all government properties. The issue of the invasion of people into the properties of the SANDF or Department of Defense, it's very worrying, Chair, if one looks at how things are being done out there. Maybe one cannot point maybe a finger at Department of Defense or Public Works. The whole government is failing the people. We are in this government which is failing the people of South Africa, because I can't imagine people are not interdicted to build these big beautiful houses in state property, and at a longer run, after a long run, you'd find that maybe then the interdicts will come in as a result of those big houses to be destroyed, whereas people have spent their money trying to improve their living conditions with their families. I thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The war in Russia and Ukraine started in 2022. And the conflict between these two departments started in 2021. And these two departments are behaving as if they are Ukraine and Russia. Yet they are the departments of the South African government. Deputy Minister of Public Works knows and understands all these challenges. And I would suggest that the two departments must go back and come back with a solution. Because as these two committees, we can't give you solutions. You are employed to come up with solutions because you are getting paid at the end of the month. The two accounting officers are here. They have tabled their reports, and we can say that bathini bathi omnye ukhomba omnye esweni omnye uvikela iso lakhe. So Chair, I'm suggesting that they must go back as Honorable Niehaus has suggested initially. They must go back and come up with a solution in a month's time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Let me start with DPWI to say, according to DOD, the two departments agreed on the devolving these matters, but according to their presentation, DPWI is reluctant to devolve rates and taxes. I would like to know what's the reason for that reluctance, and also to say where the DPWI says DOT has drastically reduced accommodation charges. Do they consider that they are holding back the rates and taxes, which is part of those accommodation charges? Are they not? They were not expecting that it's going to drop. If there's an element of that is held back by DPWI. My last one to DPWI is, you, in your presentation, you claim to be owed by DOD, and DOD is disputing, and this dispute is on the invoices. So what is so difficult from your department to provide the supporting documents for what you say you are owed? How must they pay you when there is nothing that they can attach that says this is what is owed? I go to DOD. DOD, you decided to stop projects that were in planning. What were the reasons for stopping those projects, especially in instances where you have paid over $500 million to the consultants? How are you going to account that, or how have you been, because this is Ukraine and Russia, as it's been said. How are you accounting for those monies that you have paid to consultants and there is no work that's been done? What are your plans? Is there a time frame when you stopped these projects? Is there a plan that says when are you going to resuscitate them? I thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings once more to your good self, the two DMs, and all the teams, the members of Parliament. The first question, Chair, that I want to ask to the DOD, well, I want to know, Chair, apart from what they presented there of artisans and project managers, whether there was a study being conducted by the DOD to say, we have these 1,000 buildings, they will require 20 artisans, 4 project managers, and we are going to train this period within this period of the year or 5 years. Because by the 1,000 something number that they've presented, I see it very, very small number actually to manage your projects. I want to know whether there was a study being done and how many buildings do we have, how many do we require to maintain this building or to manage all these properties. The second question, Chair, that I want to ask is in terms of the reduction of the funds there. What was the purpose? Why were funds reduced? And how was the plan of recapping all those funds if they were reduced, in particular of managing, of paying bills? Another question that I want to ask, Chair, why are there properties, do we have other properties that are not being used? And what is the plan? Because I've heard that there's a plan. What is the plan of those properties? Apart from those ones that they've been invaded, the ones that are just lying, not being used anyway, what is the plan? And do we maintain also those, do we use funds for those properties that are just lying there?
And another question, Chair, that I want to ask, how was the maintenance plan? How do we maintain buildings that are owned or are owned by Public Works, occupied by the DOD? If there's a bulb that is broken, do we do what is, there are people on sites, or do we go and look for somebody or a tender or whatsoever? How do we conduct the preventative maintenance and the day-to-day maintenance? Another issue that I do not understand, why can't I pay bills directly to the municipality, in particular those rates and taxes? For an example, even a person who owns a house, even if the bank holds that house for yourselves, they don't directly pay rates for yourselves in the municipalities. You pay directly for yourselves. Even the car, when the bank has the proof or the ownership, but you still pay for the taxes on your own, or the umtel whatsoever that you are paying on your own. I just don't understand why do we via that process. The last one, Chair, is the proof that it is required that they've spoken about. I don't understand why they are looking for the proof. Which proof? Because when I owe you, I know that I owe you 10,000. And I know that this building cost me 10,000 to occupy it. Which proof that do I require? Because I've been there for 10 years, I've been there for 20 years. Then when you want proof to pay for me, when you are still owing some of the money, I don't know, it's halabalo or what? Thank you very much.
Okay, in that order, proof can only be managed through loss of contract management, but it's another discussion for another day. Over to you.
No, thanks, Chair. Chair, I maybe I should start by agreeing with the honorable member who said that these two departments want to operate like you are Ukraine and Russia, because particularly PMTE, which manages state properties, depend on other state departments to ensure that it's functional. And for it to be functional, it needs to generate revenue. And if it's not able to maintain properties of defense, it's simply because you're not paying. We look at the report on PMTE and you realize that the Department of Defense is actually number 1 on the list. You owe the Public Works and Infrastructure Department the highest amount of money, and you in fact require the highest service from Department of Public Works. Now, I was very worried when the DM of Defense, when he opened, he says that they've got a right to privacy and power. And I then got worried to say, do you want devolution for privacy, or do you want devolution because you've got capacity to manage your own properties? And that's why I got worried. But with that, if I can ask the Department of Defense on if they can provide a comparative cost analysis of the financial inefficiencies of Department of Public Works vis-a-vis the Department of Defense. What is it that you think you have lost out that you can in fact do better as compared to Public Works? And you, in your report, you also say that you sometimes opt to pay municipalities directly. If you can maybe tell us how much you have spent on duplicate payments, where you made payments to municipalities as opposed to what Public Works was supposed to pay to municipalities. And what is the current estimate maintenance backlog on SANDF properties? If we can get a provincial breakdown of that backlog. We also want to know what are the implications of the Department of Defense's decision to stop projects. Because these projects, I think you said in your report that it's from stage 1 to stage 4, if I'm not mistaken. Some are also awaiting construction. This is a fruitless and wasteful expenditure, guys. We've lost money, and we need to know who's going to take accountability for that. What are those implications? Who made that decision? What are the implications of this decision? And we need to know how much government has lost with that decision, and someone must be held accountable. And this dick and diving that we are playing here is not going to help us with anything. We know every 5 years, if not in between, there's obviously a change of administration. But our issues remain the same. You don't come in and tell us that you're a new minister and therefore. When you come into an office, you take over everything. And this also tells us that we've got a serious problem of administration in our departments. I don't know if it's that or it's that decisions are taken outside of legislative platforms that we're supposed to be taking. And therefore, I really don't think that the Department of Defense has got capacity to manage any of these things. You are playing a political game, and I don't know why we are summoned here for that. Because even the ministers themselves were supposed to have a sitting, show each other what is it that you can do and what is it that you can't do. Not go to an extent of even wanting to go outside of your mandate. What Public Works is doing is not something that was drafted in a corner. They've got a legislative mandate to manage state-owned properties. And that's exactly what they are doing. Now, what defense is trying to do is to want to militarize infrastructure delivery. And we can't allow that to happen. Because we also run a risk of undermining civilian control and the principle of specialization in public service. And therefore, I think we really need to be aware of that. That instead of us throwing each other with a spear, maybe we need to sit down and look into what is it that Public Works is unable to do. And if it's an issue of capacity, let's look into it. If it's an issue, if you as government need to sit down and see how you can strengthen Public Works, do that, because the reality is that Public Works is drowning. And it's not only drowning because of capacity, it's drowning because you are not giving it the support that it needs, which is financial support. If the departments can start paying what they are obliged to pay, Public Works will be able to deliver the services. And it's simple as that. So I really don't think that we should be having this discussion outside of ensuring that even our budgets are aligned to the projects that we have in the different departments. Why we've got departments that hold back and say you need to stop or hold. As I conclude, why we need to hold on specific projects is because the budget that comes from National Treasury is not aligned to what departments are expected to do on an annual basis, and that needs to be looked at. It can't be a solution that comes from a portfolio committee. It needs to come from when you make decisions and you pass budgets. You need to know what you are passing. Otherwise, we're going to continue having this conversation, and it's not going to end us anyway. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. In that order.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm just wondering, when the decision to devolve functions from Public Works to DOD, when the discussion took place, did you also have a supporting SOP? Because it seems to me as though we work on he said, she said, you don't have an SOP that really drives the strategic direction that you're trying to take. Do we have how to walk through contracts? Do you have contract management in that? Do we know how to handle invoices? Do we have a turnaround time as to when we encounter such issues? Because I think everything that we are saying here stems from the head that we agree strategically that we are here to devolve functions. And that works. It's fine if the two departments agree that this works for us, because it also has a double-edged sword to say it alleviates immediate problems that the Department of Defense is facing, that Public Works maybe is unable to deliver at this time. But now the problem is, to what extent do you devolve your functions? And as DOD, if you are happy and you say no, I think Honorable Lekape just said it so well, because you think that you will just devolve functions by leases, and you think because you're unhappy with the paint you can take on the job. But it's more than that, and that's why buildings are left vacant, because you don't know how to onboard with buildings or how to offboard with buildings, because that's a function that PMTE does. That's solely their function. So I just need to know if you've got an SOP that walks you through this devolution process to say, these are where my functions start, this is where it ends, and when invoices are not paid in 30 days, these are the remedial actions. We are sitting here arguing about things that should have been done in terms of corporate governance. So for me, there's a huge governance issue and a gap that we are both not. We are a government and we can't function on who says, he says, I had a phone call and I had a letter. We can't function that way. And also with the issue of rates and taxes, the DM did say that, you know, there are certain things that devolution is as a result of fiscal control over, as opposed to the capacity to deliver. Rates and taxes is not a specialty. You know, it's from SCM, we pay the municipality. So maybe if, as a matter of maybe principle, where you can agree in terms of that framework to say things that don't need specialization, maybe DOD can handle. But also I'd like to caution DOD, the Department of Defense. It seems there's a... You are so urgent with the fact that you want to handle properties that you don't understand the technicality behind it. It is quite a technical function. And when we counted the professionals that you gave us, the 5 professionals, the 4 artisans, the 1,000 something, it amounts to 1,109 personnel. You've got 24,000 buildings across South Africa. And we don't even know where your personnel is distributed geographically. So we don't know if your personnel, how many you've got in Limpopo as opposed to Gauteng, and if those are, in terms of distribution, if they are equitably distributed to handle where you have the most bulk of buildings. So for me, there's an underestimation of the work that Department of Public Works is doing. And this is why that you feel you can take over this function. I mean, you must focus, colleagues. DRC there was difficult for you. Now you want to take the people who are supposed to be in DRC to come and fix buildings and paint. I think you are getting your issues confused here. Let DPWI do what it's meant to do and hold it accountable when it can't. That's why I'm saying that where you feel you can pay taxes, rates and taxes, that you can pay for. I mean, it's a simple handle of a push of a button and 3-4 signatures. But what you cannot do is maintain buildings. What you cannot do is on board. What you can't is off board. And also when things are left vacant, you don't even know who to tell. You let your generals walk off and you don't know the implications thereof with buildings that are left vacated. And I think that this department, the 2 departments, need to really go back, think about their mandates and what they can afford to take on. Don't take on extra things when DRC was difficult for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. In that order.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, time is catching up now. If we can summarize, because
I'll be the shortest of them all, Chair. I think I would want to start with the acknowledgement of DOD in their document, where it says that there are concerns that have been noted in terms of this question of devolution, and that they would have constant communication or engagement with DPWI, which I think as this joint committees we should be allowing that to happen. It was also, Chair, mention of a task team that was established, but here we're not given the outcome of that task team, because I think there is an omission or a gap there, that this task team was meeting and all of a sudden maybe it stopped meeting, but we need to have an input or an outcome of that so that we are able to have a conclusive report as this joint committee. And I also need to check, Chair, the formulation of that task team. Is it a administrative level? Don't want to say officials, because we have indicated that you don't have DGs and whatever that DPWI has, and that interest is formed or is informed by the fact that the different departments out there, they have different processes to formulate task teams. So is the executive involved in those task teams? Is it only officials? I need that a clarity. And then out of that report that can be given to us, I think I would be able to then align myself with what Honorable Halai said, that we would have conclusive information that is warranted by us, both committees, because all of the questions raised here should be a process of going back for them to, you know, give us a full scope of what led to the department asking for devolution and what is the stand of DPWI in terms of that, so that we get a full conclusive report, then we can make an informed decision. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Plakis.
Thank you, Chair. Chair,
you'll be the last one before we bring the way forward.
These officials are coming to divide us as parliamentarians. Because what you've clearly seen here is two departments trying to, and I think that the DM was spot on when he said this issue is a fiscal power pushing issue and matter. Got nothing else to do with service delivery and bringing services to our people. It's only about who's going to be on control of the fiscals here. Because as they are saying, they've been discussing for about 3 years. And they couldn't bring that to us to say, here is what we've discussed, here is what we want to devolve from the Department of Public Works, here is what we are happy with that can be a proposal moving forward. Instead, what they come and do here is showing that who is actually at the right and who is in the wrong. Because I want the power more than the other one. Because my defense is saying, we've only started to prepare ourselves 2022 to take over the power technically. So technically they are not where they are supposed to be, but they want the power. Department of Public Works are acknowledging that we are not really where we are supposed to be in serving the Department of Defense. So why couldn't they have said, as that task team, to say, here is what we can devolve, here is what we can do in a transition period, here is the time frame, here is the terms. They are highly paid officials. They get serious money to think. Now we must think for them here in these committees and say, this is what you must do. Because it's a simple exercise. Because I'm preparing myself for devolution, but I don't go ahead to do it. Nobody have said I must prepare myself to devolve. The other one is saying, I really cannot get to the... I asked this question, Chair, and I want to conclude there. When we were at Tabachwane, people were at that day when we had the site visit, they were actually taken out of the buildings. And I asked the general there, General, if you take these people out now, and you took them to rental buildings now in wherever, Sunnyside, when are you going to start with this project? He's saying to me, Admiral, we are only going to do assessment and project management and project planning now. So, but on the program he's saying they are going to lease for 5 years. I'm asking him, are you going to lease for 5 years there? How long will this project take? No, it's going to take 2 years. So why are you leasing for 5 years there?
Good question, yeah.
Why are you leasing for 5 years there, but here you are going to finish in 2 years? Which means to say you haven't planned. You are thinking as you are standing. You are standing here, you're thinking, no, let me give answer. 2 years, we will be finished with this thing. But generally, you are leasing at the Tshwane municipality for 5 years. So if you are finished in 2 years, Admiral, what are going to happen if Tshwane don't want you to get out of that lease agreement of 5 years? You will pay them for 3 years extra, whilst you know you are going to finish. For me, Chair, is these two departments, if it is the technical, the task team must be strengthened with the executive. Let's do that. Let the executive be part of the task team. They actually clearly indicate where can we, because it's also clear, the Cayman Act is clear, defense can, on certain areas, do their own maintenance and construction. So let us go and agree on that. When we come back, Chair, and I want to propose that to this committee, we have another joint meeting as these two departments, where these two departments come as that testament, present to us what have they now agreed upon. What could they find one another? Where could they not find one another? Because where they are now, Chair, we are trying to give them a guidance, which tomorrow they are not going to follow out of this meeting. And they will come back when we call them, they will still say you owe me 4 billion, the other one will say you didn't give me invoice. Where's the invoice? So, Chair, I think that should be the approach.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chair, I think my colleague covered most of the things here. There are a lot of things that are happening between Defence and DPWI. And if the task team established was functional, I think we should have not having these issues that you are raising here. Looking at the issue of the rates and taxes, which my colleagues has elaborated on, that is not a problem, but the problem is made by the department to not go well. Chair, I think I've got questions, but because of the proposal that has been made by my colleagues, I would like to support the proposal that says let the two departments, especially the task teams established, to go and sit and deal with these things, because it will be much easier for us to interact with the report coming from them, with all these issues that has been raised here. I really support them that let's give it to the task team to go and deal with the matter and bring it to the joint committee and deliberate on the matter. Other than that, we will keep on asking and asking and asking. But you can see that the committee established was not functional or is not functional. Thank you very much.
Honorable Newhouse, followed by Honorable Reddy. If we can just try to summarize, because I need
Chair,
to...
I want to take the proposal of the Honorable Flaikis forward. We are out of time, therefore, please do not ask either of the two departments to respond to our questions, because they are divided and they're going to give us no clarity. Let them go and meet in that coordinating committee and let them respond through that committee to the issues that we've raised with a plan that will take us forward. And as a concluding remark, Chair, the essence of the problem we faced with here is tenders. This is a fight about who lays their hands on the tenders. Come back to us and tell us how you're going to stop stealing. Thank you.
Honorable Reddy.
Thank you very much. Look, I think the matter is closed, because it seems like this whole exercise was a complete waste of time. Just go through that presentation to the last paragraph conclusion, and you'll see in the conclusion it simply says both departments need to talk. It's like they came to us here as members of parliament, like we got no other job but to tell them go and talk and then come back. Just go to the who's controlling this? I said go to the last page so that we don't waste time. Who is doing that? Go to the last page of the presentation where it says conclusion.
Thank you, honorable members.
And then if you read that conclusion there, the DOD will continue to engage with DPWI. So they came here to tell us they must continue engaging with each other, when that's the basic job that they're supposed to do. I agree with Honorable Carl Niehaus there, that this is about getting your hands on the pie. So somebody is saying, you know what, I want to eat here. So look, we've got no time for this. Go as departments, sort this thing out. You have a task team, deal with it, and come back to us. We've wasted the whole morning now. We could have been doing other more productive things. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Can I conclude the item? I see now we are going to reopen it. Honorable?
Thank you, Chair. No, we're not going to reopen anything, Chair. I'm ending. I'm just saying that when they come back, when this team comes back, please can they come back? This is a recommendation. And if the Secretary can have it tabled, they must come back with an SOP as to how they're going to operate. And they must also come back with the task team. It mustn't just be them alone. And we want to have more room for interaction the next time. So if they can keep their presentations to a minimum the next time that they come and bring their task teams. Thank you.
All right.
Chair, also as a suggestion across the table, they say they must also bring one presentation. We want them to speak from one voice and then we'll take it forward from there.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I think with those points as raised by members, that we don't take answers from both the departments. We allow them to go back, conclude on the devolution framework from the task team with proper terms of reference or SOP as set or SLA as set by members. Secondly, look at the legal implications of your roles in terms of the Gamia Act, in terms of the Defense Act, in terms of the Constitution. That legislative implication needs to be looked at. Thirdly, look where possible in the case of the defense, because from our side, it's not that we're militarizing. We need to be combat ready of any attack. Yeah, so intelligence must also advise on what needs to be covered, because there are depots where we have ammunition, there are depots where we have chemical warfare, where a contractor subcontracted by Public Works can have access because of the sensitive security nature of that particular depot. So those are things you need to look at so that we separate them from rates and taxes or maintenance, because that's prime military equipments. We can't have every Tom, Dick and Harry inside them. It's not like we're militarizing, we are defending the nation. It must be understood so that we don't draw conclusions which are sometimes wrong. We also have to get a joint committee that Public Works, DOD, Home Affairs, Land Affairs, all of them to deal with the issue of encroaching of some of our military, including Salga or municipalities, some of our military bases, because those people are destitute and desperate, seeking human settlement. They can't use our military bases. Somebody, human settlement, must take that particular responsibility, municipalities and land affairs. So we must find a way of talking amongst ourselves so that we don't have a problem of land grabbing. But finally, I think I agree fully with the spirit of the meeting that we allow you to go back, establish the task team and meet on a weekly basis. Go and talk on a weekly basis. TG, C-Lock, talk to each other on a weekly basis. Come back to us where possible, even bring in legal implication, possible amendments of the laws if the needs arise, so that we can also talk to our laws of the Republic, because we can't do anything as the joint portfolio committees outside the laws of the Republic and the Constitution. Will be intransigent and out of order. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the meeting with the joint. We are remaining for our items as the portfolio committee. We allow the DOD officials and the portfolio committee and Public Works to leave. We are remaining just for one item as the defense portfolio committee.
We can defer the action to the next meeting.
Let me ask the question for 16 July.
Order members, can we? Can you proceed?
Could I, Chair and members of the portfolio committee?
Order, please. Can we keep quiet? We are proceeding in the meeting zone.
Members of the Portfolio Committee on Defence, just 30 seconds. It's a quick question based on an email that we sent yesterday. On 16 July, the committee is on its program. It has a meeting with the Minister on Project Wasteful. We just want to know if there's any objections to moving that to the first meeting of the third quarter, and the reason being is that we want to use the meeting of the 16th of July for a briefing by Parliamentary Legal Services on a Constitutional Court judgment that requires changes to the Defence Act, and it's a process that this committee has to start urgently. So we want to use that meeting on 16 July for a briefing on the Constitutional Court ruling, and then we'll shift the 16 July meeting to the first meeting of the third quarter if members accept the proposal.
Support that?
It's supported. Yeah, the matter of the Constitutional Court is urgent, honorable members.
Seconded.
Yeah, the rest of the minutes are deferred for our next meeting. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much for your cooperation and support.
Thank you, Chair, for that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.